Not much news. My memory controller has been working fine since last episode. So that's good. Did I do this yet? Apparently not. Started shopping, or just kind of looking at and pricing out some water cooling stuff. Wow, that was quick. So, if you're not really familiar with custom water cooling... Oh my goodness, well, I better change to... Oh, I always forget to have my notes ready whenever I play this game. Okay, got my notes ready. Okay. Teleport into something that's strong to water. It's high enough level to battle this thing. Yeah, there we go. Basically, you put both your GPU and your CPU on the same closed water loop. And then you put on that water loop enough cooling capacity and radiators to cool both your CPU and your GPU. Now, why would you do that? Well, say you use just a 360mm radiator for your CPU and a 240mm radiator for your GPU. Then the amount of cooling capacity you would have for your CPU is limited to that 360mm radiator, and for GPU that 240mm radiator, that you put each in their own separate loops with those radiators. But if you say took your CPU and your GPU and put them all in one loop that passed through, and the order doesn't really matter that much, but it passed through somewhere in that loop a 240mm radiator and a 360mm radiator, so you had, by 120mm in width, a whole 600mm of radiator, then you could use all that capacity with either of the two devices. So say you had a high CPU intensive load, but your GPU is sitting there idling. Well, you only really need the cooling capacity there of an idling GPU. So, but I can rev up both radiators, and I can utilize the capacity I have of the entire loop to cool my CPU. Or vice versa, right? If you have a really GPU intensive load and a very weak CPU intensive load, or a not very, but not very much intense usage of your CPU, then, let's see here. Trying to talk and do this turn-based combat at the same time. You'd think that would be easy, but it's a little bit complicated. Well, that was nice. You could use the cooling capacity of your entire loop to cool that heavily loaded GPU. Right. And so, and if you trade loads back and forth between the CPU and GPU, then you wouldn't have, you're not trading fan speeds around, you're just, using the same loop the whole time. Now, this will be maybe slightly less performance than if you had two separate loops for each, if both were loaded 100% at the same time. But that rarely ever happens. Usually you're just loading one or the other. And if that's the case, you want them both on the same loop with enough cooling capacity for both, if you did have them both at 100% at the same time. And then your fans generally do not have to turn very fast because your capacity is so large for cooling. Let's try to slow it down. Oh, we don't have that on this guy. Okay. Maybe just pepper it. Wow. Maybe freeze discs. So if you say you had an all-in-one liquid cooler, for your GPU and your CPU. For your GPU, it's usually called a hybrid cooler because you have a fan, like an air cooler for the VRMs in memory. Then, yeah, then you can only cool. You only have the capacity of each individual all-in-one cooler for each individual parts. So you wrap them all up into one loop. Now, sometimes people make custom loops for just the CPU itself or just the GPU on its own. You primarily do that for looks, because that only really has a benefit if you're loading both at the same time to 100%, and again, that's a very rare use case. So you usually want to put them both in the same loop. And you can get better CPU cooling that way than you would with just one AIO, for example. I don't know. This is a really low power disk, but it's the right element. There we go. Let's reconstitute you. I only really need a weak disk now. So if you're dissatisfied with your either your CPU or your GPU cooling, then you can make a custom loop, and then you may not be so dissatisfied with your cooling situation. Plus it's fun, it's kind of a hobby crafting thing to do. We're doing these range tests. Well, I hit it. I guess you have to hit both of them. Now, what for some reason, what no one seems to be talking about, at least on the internet, is how exactly do you control the fans? And well, some people are talking about this, but talking about much less than it really should be, is how you control the fans when it comes to custom loops that include both your GPU and your CPU. You see, typically, if you have an all-in-one for just your CPU, then your motherboard will control the CPU fan, which you can typically connect. You typically connect the fans for the radiator to the CPU fan header, and the motherboard will control the fan RPM based off of the CPU temperature, which is a fan controller built into the motherboard itself. Your GPU will have GPU BIOS that will control the fan speed of the fans on its radiator based on the GPU temperature. And you theoretically, if you had this custom loop, you could attach some of the fans, like the fans on one radiator, to the CPU fan header, and they would be controlled by the CPU temperature. And maybe your GPU has a fan header previously used for the air cooler, which you took off to add your aftermarket water block, or if it's a pre-water block, it might have a fan header for radiator fans. So, oh, I hate this. Oh, I'm toast. Oh. Okay, I have time to use an item. But the whole point of this double loop thing is that you can use the cooling capacity of both radiators for one or the other processor. So if you just control one fan by the CPU temperature, one bank of fans by the CPU temperature, and one bank of fans by the GPU temperature, then only one set of fans spins up when your GPU gets hot, or only one set of fans speed up when your CPU gets hot, and the others just kind of sit there twirling. Which is not ideally what you want to have. Your system is quieter if it has more fans spinning slower than fewer fans spinning faster. Let's see here. Any more Onumetru discs? Oh, at level 7. Well, that's gonna work. If it actually hits him. My throat flimmed up for some reason. Oops, I hit the wrong disc. Oops. That was a slip up. Oh, Tometru disc, why not? Okay, it's not the one that opened. I guess we're gonna have to open. Maybe it's the one by the crystal. Is there like a Kanohi challenge here? No, just dead end. Sometimes if there's a dead end, it's unexplained, it's where you can access a telekinesis or mind control in some pocket somewhere. Not that one? Gee. There it is. Okay, let's see what's down here first, though. Fight this now so I don't have to fight it later. This thing is extremely high level. Oh, I'm way hosed. Okay. Why did I throw that at it? Well, it worked. Let's bring in Vekama. So, the question would be then how would you control the fans in your custom loop based on both the CPU and the GPU temperature? Like, how do you make it so that it's a function of both of them? And what I read online is how you do that is you use the water temperature as your basis. So some motherboards you can actually have sensor inputs. I believe mine does. So you can kind of jimmy this up using the motherboard, and like you have to use the chassis fan headers for the radiator fans. It's somehow some people did it. Or the better way is to buy a fan controller, which has temperature sensor inputs. And EKWB makes something like that, I think called the EK Loop Connect. But I've heard that the software for that is terrible, despite what EK says on its website to advertise it. And so that's not really what you want. What you want is a Aquacomputer Quadro, or Aquacomputer Octo, Given there's also the Aquacomputer Quadro, which is their big bad product, but the Quadro is quite expensive and it probably would be more than I need. And of course you can, using something they call Aquabus, you can chain on Octos and Quadros onto your Quadro if you want more fan headers. And your Quadro will have 4 PWM fan control headers, which, imagine, and this is 24 watts per fan header, and imagine making a custom cooling loop that required more than 4 fan banks. That would be absurd. So, that's enough, of course. But the Octo exists. If you wanted to just pile on fans that were controlled by the fan controller. And it comes with an ambient temperature sensor, or one of those like fin temperature sensors. You can stick it into something and make something that's not ambient. And you can buy an inline water temperature sensor for it that is male and female. So you can stick it on the inlet of a radiator, for example, and you won't need any extra fittings. So then it has software that is very well developed that will let you set up a fan curve for fan speed based on water temperature. And that allows you to control both to ramp up the fans if either the CPU or GPU starts producing excess heat. So I presume what I want with my fan controller is a Quadro. That should work. It's about, depends on where you buy it. Cheapest way to get it is a little over $20, so in the low 20s price range. Of course, the temperature sensor will be extra. What do you do here? This didn't work last time. It's kind of, well. And the next question is, well, once you have the fan controller, what about the fans you're going to control with your fan controller? And I've heard a couple places that EK's fans, I'm beating up on EK a little bit excessively at first here. They call them Vardar fans, are loud. And they don't actually get up to their rated RPM of 1850. So they're not actually the best choice. And there's actually, what's it called? Something Typhoon. It's like Gentle Typhoon or something, I forgot already. Anyway, there's another type of fan that's better, and our Noctua fans are worth considering for radiator fans. Well, this worked the first time, so I'm going to try it again. Oh, this is a job for Mattel. So I'd be looking at either the Typhoon fans, I'll have to remember what they're named, or Noctua fans, which are famous for being that very strange color that they make them in. May have something to do with the material, but I don't particularly care about the appearance of my fans. But it's very odd that they would try to sell things in that color, because many people do, and that's kind of a strange color to sell things in. Just saying. It's like, if you aren't familiar with this, it's like this diarrhea brown color. It did that to me, didn't it? And as far as the radiators themselves, looking at radiator roundups and whatnot, it seems like what you want is EK. And then when it comes to water blocks, at least in 2021, there's a lot out there, and there isn't very good data, it appears, on which one is the best. So, that's a tricky one. EKs are notoriously expensive, and their latest series, the EK Magnitude, I haven't found any reviews on it. It's the next it's a successor of the Supremacy, which I noticed doesn't really have a good price to performance ratio. So the Supremacy was not the best, but it was pretty egregiously expensive. Anyway, that's what I'm messing around with. These have really low hit rate for some reason. Maybe that'll help. Nope, it won't do anything. Use disc, reconstitute disc. Oh, I'm out of those. Weaken disc level 7. Well, it would have worked if I would have hit him. A lot of missing. Maybe it'll hit eventually. I have one more of these. Oh, great. Well. Finally. Now I gotta remember to use my Mask of Concealment, or else that will re-trigger. Okay, made it in. Door code for that door. Okay, but I got through, so it doesn't matter. I'm out of those, okay. Just keep chaining Sonic Blasts then. This is way overkill. Whoops. I mean, I presume that was the door that opened. Okay. So I believe these aren't live. These aren't live yet because you're probably going to have to do a translation. It gives me a sequence on how to do these. Yeah. Usually you want to not trigger these things. Okay, that thing is Earth, right? Okay. Put this guy to use for once. Wait, no, Kama died? How'd that happen? Okay. Wait, okay, oh, can't... That was dumb. I thought you could specify which toe to use it on. Okay. Okay. Use item. Yeah, I don't know why no comma just died. Okay. I'm gonna rewatch the footage and figure out why that happened, but it probably won't. Wait, that counted? Okay. Wasn't this one? Wasn't that one? This one, perhaps? Basic disc level 9, okay. Korok. Well, he's weak to me. Oh, here it comes. Center, left, right. Left, right. Okay, center, left, right, left, right. See if I can remember that. Okay, left first. Oops. Up there it is. Okay. Uh... Huh. Of all things. Level 2 disc for some reason works better than a level 8 disc. Presume we have to hit a button to be allowed to use no comma in here. There's the button. I'm gonna fight you first. Oh, I messed this up. That was really silly. It's like, why do they put that there? Just like an extra little thing you have to do that doesn't really add to the experience of playing the game. Okay. Why did I do that? I hit the wrong button. Oh well, I don't care if I use some of that in the clip anyway. I have to go all the way back. You may have noticed that the TOA menu, if you press the right arrow key, it'll go to the TOA that's on the right. So it'll go to Onuwa. Or if I press left, it'll go back to Nokama. I kind of dislike that because to scroll to the TOA that's on the right, it's like you're moving the band to the left. My brain thinks of it as rolling the band as opposed to going to the TOA that's on the side of. And so you notice it's like confusing me and I oftentimes go the wrong direction on it. Anyway. Is this it? I went back too far. Yeah, this is too far back. There we go. Is this still somewhere? Maybe it was. Oh man, there's a lot up here. Oh. This is bad. Paw rocks are the worst. Okay. Okay, got rid of all those bow rock. Oh. Okay, I didn't open that. Okay. if we already did this. Okay, haven't done this yet. That's just a pickup, nothing else. Okay. It was also merely an item. Oh dear, what do I use on this? Same guy as always, I suppose. Well, that's it. Okay, I gotta find somebody. Forgot about this door. Okay, this is new. I know this is the wrong way. This is all official canon, people. When the telemetry went down to Akuda's lair to retrieve energized pododermis for Karzani, they had a bunch of codes they had to translate, and when they translated them, it suddenly opened doors. No comma. I'm worried about you. Are you sure you are feeling alright? Even if I was not, we can do nothing but go forward. You said so yourself. Can you sense how deep underground we are, Winua? I feel like we have traveled far. Do you think these tunnels will really lead us to Metru Nui? We are deeper than I'd like to say, Nuju. This place is ancient. It has lain undisturbed for so long. It would seem the deeper we go, the older the tunnel gets. Which is somewhat silly, because if this was Makuta's lair, it would have been very disturbed and very recently. Who dug this place? Oh, that great long time ago. With such vaults and strange experiments, I think it must be the work of Makuta. Okay, now we're a fire-based level. Only the Toa of fire can withstand the heat of the lava flow. Okay, I think I'm going to stop recording here, because this is a good break point. I just went over a level crossing. This may be the second to last level. Only after this we have... If this follows the rule, it has 6 levels. However, the element of the first level was undefined, which might mean that there's actually like an air level. Either the first level was the air level, or there's going to be an air level after this. Now, traditionally, with Bionicle games, there's a tendency to make the fire level the last one. For example, The Legend of Matanui, Quest for the Toa, but not always. So, it's kind of a game trope, too, thing. Game trope as well, is that the fire level's the last one. Okay. I'll save the game. I'll record myself saving it, unlike last time. Yes. And then I'll stop recording.